if I say mindfulness can make you better at parkour, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? How does it make you better at parkour?
Because what jumps to my mind is being aware of the choices you're making,
Yeah.
how you're trying to, like, the challenges that you choose to engage with, how you choose to engage with them will develop your character, will develop deeper, or it could betray your own trust in yourself and allow you to do either greater things, get you injured, or get you killed even. But like,
if you, yeah, if you're, um,
or allow you to do something almost miraculous.
so there's two things that you tapped in there. One is like starting to get at the idea of how it helps, but also it's like maybe mindfulness is necessary to keep parkour from going into the dark side.
Yeah.
Like we joked about this before, but I wrote this thing. I never published it, but I wrote this like how to know what kind of parkour athlete you are. And I
I
was
think
like,
I've seen this, but yeah, go over it
have I
again,
said
please.
this to you?
I think I remember that. Did you publish it somewhere?
Yeah. I never published it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if the stereotypes are even up to date. It's probably
Yeah.
like 5 years old, right? Right.
The game changes so quick now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like you're wearing gloves and skinny jeans and skate shoes. It's like you're a noob, right?
Yeah.
And you'll probably have dropped this by, and your knees are going to be wrecked in 6 months, but it doesn't matter because you're going to drop this when you get to college, anyways.
Nice.
You know, you've got a man bun. You're wearing you're wearing fayus and sweatpants. It's like, oh god, you've forgotten about obstacles and you think locomotion only means screwing around on the ground. You're a movement culturist. Right? My stereotype of Colorado was, you're wearing merm shorts.
Hello.
Yeah,
we made it.
High, very designer socks. And your precisions are incredible, but do you really do all this stuff at height because you go, I probably want to die? Right? That was the question, right? Like there's so many guys who I feel like there are playing with existential crises.
100%.
While doing these things at height. And it's like, I have this question that this is just an observation I've seen over and over again, which is guy starts parkour, right? Most of the young guys who start parkour, they weren't good at team sports. Maybe they're kind of skinny and not naturally big, powerful guys. A lot of them are gamers, so maybe they weren't eating well. They were drinking Mountain Dew and doing eating Twinkies with their friends, right? They're super shy, and they've got pimples and stuff. And they're 15 years old, and they start parkour. And like a year later, they put on like 20 pounds of muscle. They're tan and bronzed. They've started to eat well. Their skin looks nice, right? They walk around with confidence. They can do this amazing shit, and they just are terrified of talking to a girl completely. They still haven't figured that out at all. Right? Yeah. Like if you literally would just like go and start a conversation with a girl, like you could have a girlfriend. Like, no, I'm just going to wait over here to be the 10th guy in line for the one girl in the parkour community. Right.
Yeah.
You've seen it over and over, and it's like, okay, so, and they'll tell you this was life-changing, it's transformative, it's amazing, I'm so much more courageous. Like, are you really courageous if you can't do this one thing that's super important to you? Right. Yeah. Or like,
are you more scared of girls than death?
Yeah.
And if so, do you need to confront that fear? Like, it's cool that you can,
or that one's really obvious to me, but one I've seen play out a lot is family dramas. That's something I'm seeing more and more, is a lot of people who come into parkour have serious family trauma, and they don't know how to deal with that at all. And they're hiding from it by being in the parkour community.
Very interesting.
They're not taking their courage back to that at all.
Yeah. Parkour community has that whole Lost Boys kind of vibe sometimes to it, where it's never land, baby. And that's what I was talking about when I was talking about, that was my dream. I had the Peter Pan dream, essentially, which was, if I can stay in this space forever, I'll never have to deal with any of that shit. I don't even remember what it is because I'm so lost in this right now.
Exactly. So I think like you can go to a jump, right? So you go to do the biggest jump that you've ever done. It
Hmm.
scares the shit out of you, and you do it. And there's like two paths that you can do, right? You can be like, oh, I remember what it's like to overcome fear. And now the next time that something is scary, whether it's talking to your boss or your parents or that girl that you like or that boy that you like, or admitting that you like boys when you are a boy, like
Hmm.
whatever it is, whatever that dimension is, some it can transfer or it can rebound. And you can be like, I feel like a coward when I have to talk to my parents. I feel like a coward when I try to talk to girls. I feel like a coward when I do this, but I feel strong when I do parkour.
Mm.
So I'm just going to go do parkour
Mm.
because that's where I feel strong. And that's what we want to avoid, right? And I've seen this like I believe every transformative practice has this, right?
Hmm.
Right. Like I've met some Vipassana practitioners who are just completely dead to emotion, right?
Mm.
I've seen lots of people who've gone into like deep emotional work and just gotten taken apart to the point where they just can't put themselves back together. They're just an ongoing emotional crisis all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, you know, like most of my experience in martial arts is that it like really helps me regulate aggression, which is pretty natural to my temperament. But I've been to specific schools now where I can see that like it's not really a place where people are cultivating the ability to deal with aggression. It's more like a place where people are playing out their desire to be a bully, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, I haven't had that experience, but I
yeah.
can
And you
see
can
where you're
see the
coming
guys
from.
who do that, who come in and who are like,
I did take
I'm
some.
naturally bigger and stronger than
You know
everybody.
what? I did go to an Easton. There's a gym here in Denver that's pretty
Yeah,
good for martial arts, and I took some jujitsu
yeah,
classes there, and I want to return to it eventually. But I just during COVID, I was like, I'm not doing that with the mask on.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
wasn't interested. Um, and there was absolutely a lot of. I came into it with such a for the peers around me because we were all beginners. Obviously, I'm like it's one of my first classes. My level of development in terms of like ego awareness was so much higher than most of the dudes there that maybe hadn't had already some kind of practice that they had really engaged with. And there was dudes that were trying to really hurt me and it ripped my arm
Yeah.
off. And it's like, dude, I mean, I'm not a giant anyways. I'm like, what?
No.
And they're, yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like there's people there that are working out their bully fantasy for sure. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. So all these practices, it's like they can reinforce your neuroses. This is an idea I got from a guy who used to be a friend of mine. I'm not a friend with him anymore,
mm-hmm.
but fair credit to Mark. This is we choose the practices that reinforce our neuroses, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're naturally high in risk tolerance, maybe you choose parkour,
Yeah.
right? If you're easily perturbed by the world, you choose Feldenkrais in yoga. But some people develop an equanimity from their Feldenkrais practice that takes them into strength in the world, or their seated practice, right? They can hold that equanimity. But some people actually, I've seen the opposite happen. They become more and more fragile. It's like they get this feeling of being at peace when they're rolling around on the ground or they're sitting, and it becomes addictive to them. And then everything that takes them away from that, they go more and more away from.
Mm.
And it's like you can become addicted to the thrill of parkour, the peacefulness of meditation, the sexual energy of dance, like whatever it is. There's all these pathways that you can go into addiction, and you end up in this reciprocal narrowing, what John calls reciprocal narrowing. So it's like you have these feedback loops that take you back and back always to that place
Mm-hmm.
rather than expanding you.
Yeah.
And um, I think that's why we have to, like, if you ask me like, where do you see the parkour community going? I don't know where the parkour community is going. I can't see that.
Mm.
What I want to see the parkour community growing into is something that, let's call it a gymnasia that provides the grounds for for the type of philosophia that can help us solve the real problems that we have. Right? So we're not just going from the Ken Wilber to the Jordan Peterson.
Mm.
We're actually learning the real lessons and not adopting the ideological puppeting.
Mm.
And we're actually becoming the types of people who can solve the problems that we have. And that's a strange thing maybe to say about the parkour community, but I actually think that we have something that can donate to that very powerfully. And I would like to see more and more people in parkour starting to wrestle with that and to start to take the idea of parkour philosophy much more seriously, and to read Plato, right? To listen to John Vervaeke, to listen to Jordan Peterson at his best, right? Not Jordan Peterson arguing about trans stuff on Joe Rogan. Jordan Peterson talking about Piaget and Jung and those things. Read Maps of Meaning. Read, I think I said my friend Vervaeke. Read David Abrams. Like, start asking yourself, if I feel like parkour is powerful and transformative in my life, how is it transforming me? How do I want to be transformed? Is parkour the best tool to achieve that? Are there other tools that can reinforce it and grow what it is? That's when I think that, if you think about parkour as this fundamental idea of like, let's overcome obstacles. Let's become the type of people who can do it. Like,
be strong to be useful, right?
Yeah. What I loved about like we were talking about the philosophy and the embodiment of it. I think parkour is a radical embodiment of a philosophy of becoming a heroic individual. Because you say, here is a problem. It's scary and it's hard. I'm going to go do it. And you act that physically out over and over and over again for years. Like, that's a foundation for character. If we understand that and we say, it's not the jump, it's how that jump is forming me over time. And we push into that, then I think that what parkour can offer the world becomes something really big.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. I know we're right up against that hard stop time, so I think this is a good place to maybe conclude, because that was great.